Hello everyone and welcome back to the Retro Recall. I hope you're doing awesome. Today we have the AST Advantage Pro 486SX25 desktop form factor PC on the bench. Say that 10 times fast. This particular computer was already featured in a previous video where I usually test out computers that we either donated or I found in thrift stores. And so this particular computer did not get into any sort of posting. I believe there was an issue where it said press F1 to continue. I didn't see that on the screen at the time, whereas viewers in the comments said, why didn't you hit F1? So we're going to find out all about that today. So I figured I'd bring this out of storage and readdress this computer because it has also been requested. We have lots to do. As always, let's get right to it. Welcome back. Here we are with the beautiful AST desktop PC. And I say beautiful because I particularly love this form factor. It's obviously something we don't see a lot anymore. Obviously, laptops are laptops, but in terms of any sort of desktop piece that you're able to buy today, they're all mostly towers. So when you see a desktop type form factor, I really like the design. And of course, going back, older systems really interest me. So here we are. This particular system, I believe, was manufactured in 1993 based on the date codes that I found on the inside of the computer. So really interesting to get into this. So we're just going to go over the computer before we start going on the inside and see what is in store for us. Okay, along the front, we have the AST logo, which is an AST branded system. I don't see very many of these, even in the market today, whether I'm thrifting or going online. So not very many of these out there. But in terms of the AST brand, it was a computer manufacturer back in the 90s that I didn't hear much about these guys into the 2000s. Keep me honest down in the comments. We have the Intel Inside sticker on the front, so hoping that we do have an Intel CPU. My guess is yes, based on the nomenclature on the front. We do have a 3.5-inch floppy drive, which does seem to be populated with no doubt a disk full of personal information, so we're not going to look at that right now. We do have an optical drive. It says 36 speed or 36X max, so 36 speed optical drive. I'm quite confident that 36 speed wasn't around at the time this computer was manufactured, so no doubt this is an upgrade to this PC. We have an open 5.25-inch bay, which is kind of disappointing. I don't have the front cover for this, the bezel that would go in and cover this area. I don't know if I have another drive to pop in here. It'd be really cool if we found a 5.25-inch drive to pop in there, a floppy drive as well. So we have our Advantage Pro, which is the model of this system, showing it's a 486SX25. I believe that's probably the model, so make and model of the computer. We do have our reset button. We do have a couple of LED lights that do display the activity, including disk, power, reset. We also have an on-off chunky switch, which no doubt is AT for a power supply and direct to mains power. All right, let's continue on, turning around, take a look at the side. So overall, I mean, the computer itself is in really good condition considering its age. Usually systems like this, even if they're not dented, because they are so well built, it's very thick metal, is the fact that usually have deep gouges, scratches, where, you know what, to people, these are garbage, so they would have been thrown into a pile or things dragged across them, which unfortunately create those big gouges. Yes, they can be repaired and fixed, but it's nice to get them in this condition where you don't have necessarily that problem to contend with. Okay, along the back, as you can see, I do have the cover off currently because I was looking at the inside of it. So we do have AST Research Inc. We have Advantage Series made in the USA. It shows regulatory information regarding voltage and other notes of interest. It does say caution, disconnect telephone lines before removing this cover, no doubt due to some grounding concerns because, again, regular phone lines back in the day did carry some voltage. I love these power supplies where you do have the ability to plug in your mains power to the power supply, but you also have the ability to connect a monitor on top without having to actually connect a separate power wire to, say, a power bar or something separately. So it's nice to have that. And of course, we have some ventilation by the looks of things along the top. We do have our, looks like our keyboard connector, our DIN 5 AT style connection. We have a 9-pin serial port. It's labeled serial 2, so this will be the secondary serial. We have our parallel port. We do have a PS2 port. It does have a, it says mouse on it. So it's nice that we do have a PS2 port even back in 1993. We have serial warrants, another 9-pin serial port. And of course we have monitor written here. So it's our VGA or 15D sub port as well. Looks like there was also additional expansion that would have been installed in this at the time. Unfortunately, we do not have those cards that are currently installed, but we do have 2 open slots in the top. And of course we have, it looks like a sound card. Not sure exactly what sound card is installed, but we'll find out that in a moment. And you have expansion ports 1 through 6 kind of numbered along the bottom here as well. Okay, and we'll look at the other side as well. We, again, don't see anything too badly. You can see it's in really good condition. Yeah, a couple little marks here, scuffs that no doubt will come off with a magic eraser. Again, very light scrubbing because you can actually strip the paint off with that stuff. Outside of that, you can see where the original color would have been and, of course, the yellowing of the plastics. Here we are with a different angle of the computer so we can see the inside. I have it on this angle because from the aerial view, it really gets blocked by all this extra stuff that's installed. So we do have what looks like our sound card installed. So we're going to remove that right away just to get that out of our way in terms of view, but also see what we have installed in terms of a sound card. So it is an ISA sound card, which I do expect from this era. And it is quite in there, I'll be honest. See if I can get this out of here. We will be using contact cleaner for sure. See if I can get this removed. Oh yeah, that is really, really in there. Okay, it looks like we have a Creative Labs sound card. We have model CT4330, made by Creative Labs. It says Creative Tech 1994. Creative Tech 60 or 96. So we do have a couple chips that are dated 94 and 96. And this would have been an upgrade to the computer at the time, because again, this computer is manufactured in 93. So I imagine they would have done an multimedia upgrade to this computer. But the board over itself, it looks to be in excellent condition, to be honest. There's no sort of any scratches on the PCB itself, and all the writing is all good. And quite frankly, the dust level in that is minimal on it. Okay, we'll put that aside for now, just because we want to kind of get exposed to everything inside this computer. I'm just gonna remove that optical cable, just kind of get it out of our way. I'm just gonna remove the floppy disk cable from the floppy drive itself, and then we're left with this floppy housing. Now, normally I would just leave the floppy there, but unfortunately there's a screw in behind here I cannot access without removing this. That's the joy of these older systems that you run into, is you're really at a mismatch of trying to get into these computers by having multiple things in the way. So by looks of things, that just slides out like that, and there we are. So you can see how this has 2 little grooves to slide in, and there's that 1 screw that hold that floppy drive in. The floppy drive looks like a Toshiba ND-3561GR 3.5-inch floppy drive. So you're seeing Panasonic and Mitsumi. I'm not too often seeing a Toshiba drive installed, but I'm going to leave the mount on there just because it is fine the way it is for now. Okay, put the screw aside as well. So now we're starting to get a little more access to the computer, and you can see the CPU is on this kind of riser card, which is interesting because I don't see that too often. I want to get the optical drive out of here so we can do a little bit of a cleanup on the computer as well while we're working through it. Plus, I want to see if there's any sort of battery we have to contend with as well. Okay, so I moved that 1 screw that was being blocked by that floppy drive. So we're going to remove the Molex connector as well as the IDE drive from the back of the optical. And of course, it is still locked in place because of that other screw. The first thing I'm gonna do is get rid of this optical drive because that's what we were working on. So before I get into the rest of it, let's remove this optical drive. That's why this was so lopsided, because quite frankly, it was just 1 screw on a kitty corner, and unfortunately it was causing it to kind of weave back and forth on an angle. Really, these drives should have at least 3 or 4 screws installed to be properly installed in the chassis. Okay, let's take a look at this drive. We have a Wearnes, Wearnes peripherals, model CDS-36X, which is, of course, our 36 speed. It does have a manufacturing date of June of 1999. So we now have a sound card from 96 and an optical drive from 1999. I'm going to put that optical drive aside for now, and you can see all the dust bunnies that are living inside this computer. We are going to give this system a quick dust down when we get it all kind of apart. So we do have an IDE hard disk installed, and not too often do you see these still intact. So it is a quantum drive by the looks of things, but in order to take it out, we're going to remove that IDE cable as well as the Molex connector. And I believe this is going to be the same. Let's see if we can get this out. There we go. Well, I believe it's going to be the same as the floppy drive on the other side, just this one screw. And we should be able to just slide this up. There we go. Yeah, so it just sits inside those two kind of cutouts for the two tabs, and it holds it in place. So we do have a Quantum Pro Drive ELS. It does say, let's see, 170 megabyte drive. There we are. So we have June 16th of 1993. So there we go. We know what we have for our hard disk. It would be nice to get a larger hard disk installed in this. I mean, I have tons of IDE drives that would work in this system. And, you know, I would like to have obviously a little more space, maybe do a little more with this. You know, do we throw, first off, I want to see what's installed in the computer for sure. But then outside of that, if we were to install a different operating system, you know, what would it be? I'd love to have a nice little Windows 95 get up going on here with this sort of build with the 486 SX25. But of course, this was probably more geared for Windows 3.1 at the time, and that's what I expect to see installed on this hard disk. Okay, I'm going to pop that aside, and now we have to contend with this. Well, we're going to remove some cables first, because the cables are obviously, well, I say we're going to, but they are, of course, all mounted underneath these rails. So it looks like we have a couple screws that are mounting the power supply to the base, and then the back, there's a couple screws as well. So I'm going to quickly just remove these. And again, I'm doing this so that we can get access to the ribbon cables, as well as a motherboard. I want to see, again, if there's a battery we have to contend with anywhere. Hopefully, there's no Varda battery, and we're only dealing with the coin cell style of battery, because chances are we won't have any motherboard damage. Okay, there we are. So we have released that. Oh, this is getting so much lighter now. Okay, a couple more screws by the looks of things. And I think this has been worked on, because as I'm removing these screws, I'm finding that there are different types of screws. Like looks like there's this wood screw that's installed or was installed holding the floppy drive in, for example. So obviously someone lost a screw and said, heck, I'm just going to throw in a random screw. So we're going to try to put a better one in place of that. Okay, so we do have the power cable kind of running along here with a couple of those ties. So we're just going to remove that and remove the other one. Make sure I don't accidentally cut the cable. And we are going to remove this ribbon cable from the motherboard as well. That is for the LED display in the front. Those lights. Okay. And we're going to take that out now. That should just pop right out, assuming there's nothing else holding it in other than those power cables. And take that power supply and put it aside. There we are. Now we're getting somewhere. We have lots and lots of view now into this computer. Okay, so a little bit of time has passed in real time on this on this video, because I wanted to do a little more research of what I was finding here. I did remove that middle bar that was going across, the support beam that went across. It was fairly simple to move, just one screw and it kind of popped out. The same thing can be applied to the remaining bar, but I wanted to expose the CPU area to kind of see what this is all about. Now, this is the first time I've seen a CPU on a daughter board versus directly on, you know, socketed on the motherboard. So that's an interesting view. So I wanted to learn more about this. And unfortunately, I'm not finding anything about this motherboard on the retro web. So it's something that I'm probably going to take and upload to the retro web and let the community kind of pick it apart and update it accordingly. However, I wanted to call out a couple things I did find online, because I have found this motherboard online under a different model. I did a search for AST Bravo LC 202480, and that yielded enough results that I was able to finally see a little bit about this board, because the battery is also a little different in this, and I'm going to show that here in a moment. We do have our 4 ISA slots. It looks like we have 4 memory banks. Not exactly sure what this model goes up to. There was some conflicting information that I found online. I wasn't able to find online that this is the RAM configuration or how many you can put in. We do have 4 banks here, and it does have, fortunately, we are in a good spot where it does have those metal clips, much easier to work with versus those plastic ones that just break right off. Okay, it does see on the back, someone has written along the back 4 MB FP, so fast page memory, so 4 megabytes. So I imagine there's probably 8 megabytes of memory installed in this computer. Okay, I'm gonna leave that out for a moment until we get get this brushed off. And the same thing with this stick of memory, it's just 2 little clips on the side, should pop back towards me. There we are. And we have another stick of memory, and I'll pop it around, take a look, and there's nothing written on here that would exactly give me an idea what it is, but I'm going to assume there's 8 megabytes of memory that's installed in this computer. And moving on, we do have our AT power supply connector on the motherboard. Now, I'm really interested in this area where we have the daughter board specifically for the CPU. Again, I have never seen this, and just looking at it, we have it mounted here and here. Those are the 2 interfaces that are mounted to the motherboard, and the rest of it is just floating. So I'm going to be very careful and see if I can remove this from the motherboard. The last thing I want to do is take it off and unfortunately cause it to snap or break. Okay, so there we are. We have the daughter board removed, and you can see that it is copyright AST Research, 1992, all rights reserved. I wonder if we could potentially upgrade this to a DX, potentially. And again, I have to do a lot more research on this to find out what it could handle. And so you can see why we're not going to do all this in today's video, because there's a lot to do with this, and I think this will deserve its own second chapter. Okay, along the bottom, we do have the chipset showing. So it is a VLSI 9312AQ A33327. Looks like VL82C486-FC2 chipset. So we do have the chipset showing, which is interesting how it was hidden underneath that daughter board. But now we're starting to get a better view of what the motherboard actually looks like in terms of this form factor. So over in this area, we have a Cirrus Logic chipset, which is for our video card, our integrated graphics with some VRAM, clearly socketed. And some of it's socketed, some of it's soldered on board. So imagine there's some cache memory here as well for the motherboard. And then over here, we do have this port. I did remove the floppy cable from this port, so that's our floppy connector. And over in this area, we do have our IDE. You can see that's still clearly connected to the motherboard. Not sure exactly what these 2 sides do. I don't know if there's a voltage regulator that you can plug in there or what have you. Again, having the motherboard manual and being able to review this would be very helpful. Okay, so flipped around on this side, I'm just going to remove this last bar just because it's kind of in our way, and that'll give everybody a better view of what we're seeing. Okay, this should just pop right out. There we are. And there's our IDE cable holding it down. Let's pop that aside. And our switch is directly connected to that, to the power supply. So that's why I'm not really doing much with that at the moment. And I'll remove this IDE cable, noting that pin 1 is towards the ISA slots. Okay. And there we are. We have a full access to our motherboard. And my goodness, quite a bit of dirt, as you can see, that we have, which we're going to get cleaned up just because I want to get kind of the thick off of it before we put it all back together. Okay, continuing on, we do have our AST logo directly printed on the silk screen with part number 202480. And that's what really helped me find that this is a Bravo LC model. Even though I searched AST Advantage, I had to read through a bunch of news groups before I found that it does relate to this part number. So if you do an AST search for part number 202480, it does come up the Bravo LC motherboard. And I guess there was different variations of this motherboard as well, but I found one very, very similar to this. But again, not having the full manual, not having access to all the jumper settings. And then down here, we do have our little button speaker. We have that interface as well that goes to our front LEDs. But here is our battery. So we have BT1, and it's odd because it looks like a battery that you would just, like it has the negative over here and the positive here. But that's it. Like, it doesn't give me an option to change it. And I've never seen something like that before. Let me get zoomed in on it so everybody can have a better view of it. Okay, so there we are. You can see here that the battery itself is kind of hovering above the motherboard. It looks like it's soldered. Now, I don't know if this is the holder and there's a battery that's supposed to pop in here and there's an arm broken off on top. It looks like there might be an arm broken that will go across to hold like a very small battery in there. I'm not sure, so let me know down in the comments. If not, I wonder if I can get a regular coin cell holder, solder that to the motherboard, and use a regular 3-volt battery. So let me know down in the comments again what you think we should do in terms of this battery, but I'd like to get that replaced as well. So you can see how this is turning into a further restoration, which will be, again, way too long for today's video. So I think what we need to do now is get the computer all kind of wiped down and get this dust out of here. Just get a nice clean working area and do the same, put it all back together and see if the system will actually still post and see what our next steps are going to be from there. Okay, so I've used some contact cleaner and some isopropyl alcohol to really, give these a little bit of a deeper clean, some of the PCBs. I've gone ahead and used the vacuum, obviously ESD vacuum, to clean all the different parts, components. Lots of great stuff going on here. It smells like a chemical factory in the lab, but that's totally fine. So what we're going to do is just install the components again as we go. I'll start cleaning them as we go as well, just so that we have a good understanding of everything getting put back together. Scope changed a little bit in this video because I realized there's a lot more work to do that we did not understand at the beginning. I need to understand more of the motherboard, need to understand more of the configurations of what the board can support in terms of memory, as well as in terms of CPU. I have different CPUs. I'd like to see what could potentially this be upgraded to. And of course, that battery that's over there, I don't want to do anything with that until I understand fully what needs to be done. If we do need to take this all apart again, that's no problem. I will get the underside of this motherboard, the dust that potentially is under there, as part of that process, and then we can solder on a new coin cell holder for that. All right, let's continue putting this system back together. We'll clean as we go so we get all the dust off of it. Let's keep going. Okay, here we are with the computer all reassembled. Quite a bit of work getting it back together, but my goodness, so much better looking, so much cleaner. And I'm telling you, this isopropyl alcohol makes all the difference in the world when trying to clean all these components, takes all the grime off, no problem. And again, contact cleaner is your savior when it comes to putting all the different components back in the car, because over the years, oxidation happens, and the contact cleaner helps remove some of that oxidation and gets everything kind of cleaned off for the components to communicate communicate with each other properly, especially, where this CPU board is a daughter board. And, I'm a little more concerned about that. I did not end up removing that CPU only because of the fact that it's the way it's socketed. I don't have a proper tool to remove it. So I wanted to make sure that we're not going to do any extra damage or any damage to it, and break the ceramic. So I think we're good for what it is right now. Let's get the bench all kind of rearranged, get a monitor, keyboard, mouse all set up, and see what this computer does. Okay, here we are set back up the bench with our trusty Hewlett-Packard monitor, keyboard, and mouse. The keyboard is a DIN 5 AT style keyboard, as the good old Windows certified sticker on that, so that's pretty cool. And we have our Microsoft ball mouse, our IntelliMouse, which is classic. I'm using the HP monitor just for ease of filming and for what we're trying to do. Yes, CRT would be more appropriate for this. We're just not there yet. So I want to make sure that I have everything kind of reconnected properly. I'm going to troubleshoot that if it's not, and we'll go from there. So keep in mind, this is mains power. So we do have AT plugged in to the interface to the motherboard, as well as the switch goes directly here to direct feed here. So be very careful in the back of this. Sometimes there's wires exposed. This is a plastic housing, but just be cautious of that because it is directly connected to the power grid. And of course, when you connect any sort of AT style connector to a motherboard, make sure blacks are together, the black to black, when you're plugging it into the interface. I know we didn't really see that too much just because of the fast forward through putting the system back together, but just something I want to call out. Okay, let's hit the power button and see what happens. Okay, so we are posting. Okay, here we are zoomed on the screen. It says AST Advantage Pro BIOS, release 1.01. Copyright AST Research Inc., 1987-1992, all rights reserved. 11.1, the computer has lost its setup information. Check the computer's battery, then run system setup to reset the configuration. Of course, then it says testing memory. I just pause it there for a moment, but I'll hit enter and see if we move forward past this screen. Okay, so I do want to call this out. This is exactly what I had called out from before, where the computer kind of didn't move forward past the system battery not working. So I'm going to reset the computer and I'll turn it off, turn it back on. That way there's no interruption from me. I mean, it did do a proper test of the system memory, so we know that works. I did hear the hard disk drive spin up, but nothing else kind of worked there. So I'm just going to turn the power back on and see what we get. Because I did interrupt the boot up sequence prior, so I want to see if this time it will actually go through the boot up sequence. There's testing the memory. All right, here we go. So to run system setup, press Control-Alt-Delete now, or F1 to continue, or Control-Escape to run system setup. So this is exactly where we left off. All right, so this is correct. This is where I did not see. When I had read this before, people were like, just hit F1 to continue, and I didn't see that at the time. But I am going to go to Control-Alt-Escape so we can see the system itself. Okay, so it says configuration corrupted or battery low. Your battery is running low or the configuration information is corrupted. Setup will use default settings. Press any key to continue setup. Okay, no problem. So we have our overview screen. Shows our date and time, which is obviously incorrect. It's not 1980. And advanced options. So we have floppy and boot drive. So we have our floppy disk A. And our boot device, it says, hey, go ahead and try your floppy first. Keyboards report error, numlock, and default speed is high. It's interesting when we go into this how these kind of set the stages for our future systems today. I'm just going to hit back, exit to main menu. Hard disk drive. So it says here, our first hard disk is set to none. Now, this is what we'll have a problem with because of the fact that it doesn't remember its configuration. So I just changed that to auto, so therefore it detects a hard disk because we are plugged into the primary IDE port on the motherboard. And then video and memory. So we have our video memory, a color, EGA, VGA, 60 Hertz is our 680 by 480 mode. 800 by 600 set to 56 Hertz, and 1024 by 768 is 87 Hertz. Memory is 8 megabytes of total memory, which is enabled on the motherboard. So it's built directly into the motherboard, which is great. Coprocessor and ports. We have math CPU or math coprocessor is none currently because we never saw anything there. Parallel ports, auto, and serial ports. Auto just shows our resourcing. Security, nothing is turned on now, which is Perfect. And BIOS information is all here. So we have 486SX with our processor speed of 25. And there's our system board ID. This is what someone was mentioning that I had to look up in the computer. So we do have an LC3 system board ID. So hopefully that helps anybody helping me find this motherboard configuration and see what we can do to continue to, I guess, essentially upgrade it. Okay, let's go down to exit. And now we're going to exit system setup. Exit and save changes. Now with the power, it should hold those settings. It's counting the memory. It should give me the warning again, I believe. Yeah. And I'm going to hit F1 this time to continue. The computer cannot start. Insert a system disk and press enter. So it's having difficulty finding the hard disk. So I'm going to hit enter. Okay, it's looking for a floppy drive and it can't find it. I'm going to go back into the system configuration real quickly. I'm going to turn off the auto on the control escape. There we go. Okay, so this is a concern because I did put auto for both and now it's saying none, which means when it's restarting, it's losing the system settings. Sometimes these systems with the power plugged in and running will save the setting long enough to continue forward. But I'm going to try one more time. I'm going to set auto. I'm going to leave the secondary hard disk off this time. And we're going to click on exit and it's going to ask to save. Yes. And see this time, see if it actually boots off the hard disk. The hard disk is still spinning away after all these years. And it's going to warn me again. Yeah, I'm going to hit F1. And it says the computer cannot start. Insert a system disk and press enter. Because the BIOS is losing the configuration. Let's see what I can do to hook up something temporarily to the board. See if we can get some sort of power. Okay, welcome back. So I've gone ahead and done is I've taken a coin cell holder, just a generic brand new one, and wired on the two leads to the existing coin cell holder that's on the motherboard. Ideally, I'd like to get the same one that fits, but what we could do is retrofit the existing one to one of the newer ones style that I have in my hand here. And essentially what I do is just take that one out, solder on a new one, and that would be it and call it a day. Unfortunately, I didn't do it at the time. However, we will do that in a future video when we start to talk about upgrading this system. But essentially what I did was just to solder on the two leads to the existing coin cell holder, and that allowed us to have, well, basically adaptive battery. Unfortunately, we're not able to move past. This is one of those computers that will not allow you to move past into anything without a coin cell charged with charge. So in the last video when I had done this, unfortunately we weren't able to go very far because I didn't see the F1. People said press F1, I press F1, it just went into a loop anyway, unfortunately, because of the fact that it cannot save the settings to boot off of the hard disk. Should go to a familiar screen, but we're just going to go into the setup again. Which is Control Escape. Okay, so we're back in here. It doesn't know our date and time. It just doesn't have anything set. We're not going to do that right now anyway. Going on to hard drives, and sure enough, see, it's set to auto this time, and it detected the geometry of that particular hard disk, which is our 170 megabyte quantum drive, which, despite the fact that it's from 1993, is still functioning, which, I don't know, we're probably on borrowed time. Okay, I'm going to go back to escape, and we're going to save system settings. I didn't change anything, but we've already gone through this. I'm going to save changes and see if it boots into an operating system. Okay, it's testing our memory to 8 megabytes, which tells me we have 2 slots, so it's 2 4 megabyte sticks. I wonder if this could potentially support 32 megabytes of RAM. I do have quite a bit of memory, so we'll do some testing of that in a future video. There we are. So it is detecting the hard disk this time, and we have Windows 95 installed on this computer. That Windows 95 screen never gets old. Yeah, it looks like a pretty basic install of Windows 95. I'm not seeing any sound icon down below, which tells me the drivers aren't installed for the sound card. Let's go to my computer for a moment, go into Properties. So I did bypass the previous general screen because it does show the previous owner's name, but it did say it's a 486 with 8 megabytes of memory. Our CD-ROM drive is showing, so we have WPI CDS-36X ERC. That is the CD-ROM drive. I'm going to open it up just to make sure it does work, and it is not opening. Okay, it seems to be jammed up pretty good there. So sometimes that's an indicator that the belt has gone bad on the drive, but it's good to know now. It is detecting the physical hardware, but it'd be interesting to take it apart to find out if it's a belt issue or not, or there's a potential disc stuck in there. So we're going to do some surgery on that later to find out what is going on. Our disk drives, it is detecting our generic IDE disk drive type 97. That's what it detected it as. I mean, we do know it's the 170 megabyte, I should say. I think I said gigabyte earlier, but 170 megabyte drive. We have generic NEC floppy disk drive. That's our Toshiba drive. Under display adapters, we know we have our Cirrus Logic 8 megabyte display adapter. Now we do have several ISA slots available, so we could potentially put a dedicated graphics card in here, slightly better than what we have in terms of integrated. Floppy disk and hard disk controllers are fine. There's our famous modem. We have an Intel 14.4 modem. My goodness, just tells you about the time back in the day. We have our monitor, which detects just as a TVM, according to this, Super Sync 3. So that must have been the previous monitor that was set up, a CRT that was set up with this computer, TVM SuperSync 3 Plus. We have our mouse. We have a standard PS2 mouse, which is currently installed. That's our Microsoft IntelliMouse, our good old ball mouse there. But we are seeing that a standard serial mouse was probably previously connected to the system, which not currently detecting. Network adapters, we have our dial-up adapter. Other devices, so there we go. So sure enough, we do have our Creative Sound Blaster AW32 plug-and-play drivers not fully installed, because I am seeing some already installed. Our wave effect synthesis for AW32 has been detected by Windows natively, so we'd have to go in and make sure that we install the rest of the drivers. But personally, I'd like to do a fresh install. Ports are all fine, our communication ports and printer ports. And of course, it looks like an unknown device, but that's probably part of the sound card installation. Not sure. Maybe we would have to go and try out, maybe it might be a system device. Okay, so I think that's a good spot to stop today. I know people will be disappointed because, obviously you want to continue on and see what we do in terms of a full restoration. We're going to do a recap right now and talk about what our next steps are. And here we are at the end of the video with our AST Advantage Pro 486 SX25 desktop PC that is now fully functional. I do have that modification for the coin cell temporarily, but it just reminds us of the things that we do need to do in part 2 of this series. So we are going to take the computer back apart to be able to take apart the motherboard to get to that coin cell and replace it properly with a proper coin cell holder. The one that's there currently, unfortunately, is broken. We do know that we do have that 486 SX25 CPU. I'm going to do some research on the system to see if I can find anything about that daughter board and those jumper settings, just to see if we can, in fact, upgrade the CPU in this computer. We also have 8 megabytes of memory. I do have additional memory sticks to see if we can upgrade this to potentially 16 or 32 megabytes. That hard disk is a 170 megabyte quantum drive. That's something that I feel that we should upgrade a bit to give us additional space. We have tons of IDE hard disks that we can install on here. Just interesting to see what this BIOS will support. And please let me know down in the comments if you find any information about this specific motherboard. Again, as I mentioned during the video, is an AST Bravo LC 486. Part number 202480. So let me know down in the comments, please. And if you do, link it to me. And if not, just send me an email on that, because I do want to look up this motherboard and find out more information about those specific jumper settings, specifically around that CPU on that daughter board. This is definitely a candidate for an upgrade. Upgrading the CPU, and even if we didn't, and if we really want to take advantage just of that speed of the air at the time, a couple of extra sticks of memory I think are due. I think installing Windows 95 fresh, getting that Sound Blaster card working, and making this a really cool retro DOS gaming system would be really awesome. Stay tuned for video number 2. That said, if you like today's video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Makes a world of difference, helps this channel grow. Almost 70% of my viewers are not subscribed, so please smash that subscribe button. It really tells YouTube you like what you're seeing and promotes these videos. Please hit the notification button, change it to all. You'll be notified of new content such as this. Please leave a comment down below. Did you own an AST computer back in the past? Do you know anything about this motherboard? What should we do with this computer, if anything different than what I suggested? Please leave a comment down below. I respond to absolutely every one of you. Always making new content. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.